She's lost her mind. I don't know how else to say it.
Her name is Lori Vallow.
She talks about people having dark spirits that she can see, and
The so-called Doomsday Mom.
Tell us where the kids are.
When the world wondered if her two missing children were safe,
So why don't you give us answers?
That's great.
she and her new husband said nothing.
And they actually look at law enforcement as maybe the instrumentality for their apocalyptic ending.
But investigators unearthed the truth. 3 years later, the accused Arizona mother will finally stand trial in Idaho. Murder, money, and the end of days. This is the Lori Vallow story. I'm Fox 10 investigator Justin Lum. Lori Vallow was known as an all-American mother and a devout Mormon. How did this persona transform into a triple murder defendant? Tomorrow, Lori's trial officially begins after multiple delays due to her mental competency. She's charged with killing her two kids, JJ Vallow and Tylee Ryan. She's also charged with conspiring with her husband, Chad Daybell, to murder her children, as well as conspiracy in the murder of Chad's first wife, Tammy Daybell. Both Lori and Chad were set to be tried together until a judge decided to split their cases. But the trail of death that follows Lori starts here in Arizona, where Lori's fourth husband, Charles Vallow, raised red flags, claiming his wife's religious beliefs evolved into something dangerous.
You thought it was possible that he was going to hurt you?
Absolutely, he was gonna hurt me and Tylee.
Okay,
Not JJ, he would never hurt JJ.
okay.
And he hurt my brother. Like,
Yeah.
he was going like ballistic about. It was bad.
Lori and her brother Alex Cox tell Chandler detectives a story, a narrative of a fight turned deadly.
Okay. So you pulled him to the ground, you got back up.
I got back up. He hit me in the back of the head. I don't know if it was with the bat or not. I assumed it was.
Okay.
Because he had it.
A struggle involving a baseball bat ending with gunshots just hours earlier.
I got in a fight with my brother-in-law and I shot him in self-defense. Who else is there in the house with you? Just me.
He's right here in the living room. Firearm's gonna be in the front door, in the front bedroom, laying on the ground next to a case.
July 11th, 2019, just after 7:30 that morning, Charles Vallow arrived at the rental home where Lori was living with their adopted son JJ and Lori's daughter Tylee Ryan. 7-year-old JJ lived with autism and 16-year-old Tylee was his big sister and protector. Charles came to take JJ to a school for special needs. For some reason, his brother-in-law Alex had stayed the night. Tylee later told police that an argument between her mom and Charles broke out, so she grabbed a bat and pointed at him.
I remember when he took the bat from me, I saw his face for like a split second, and I honestly, it didn't even look like him. He just looked like pure, rage.
Lori says Tylee went outside to check on JJ, who was in Charles's rental car.
You go back to your room,
Yeah.
get the gun,
Yeah.
come back to the living room.
Yeah.
Now, Tylee and Lori are gone.
Yeah.
And
It's just me and Charles in the living room. And I told him, I said, Charles, put that bat down. And he goes, what are you going to do about it?
So you heard the shot?
Mm-hmm.
Did you actually see the shot, or did you just hear it?
I had gone around to the kitchen to get away from him and so back around. So I don't know if he went in the house.
I didn't, so I'm a little bit of a disadvantage.
Yeah, so I didn't.
As the 62-year-old laid on the floor bleeding, his wife took off.
And then I came back around and I saw that he was on the ground.
Okay.
And was freaking out.
Yeah.
And so I was just freaking out and it just went into mama. I'm like, I've got to go to get JJ to school. I've got to get to the kids. I just felt like I got to get to the kids.
Driving Charles's car, Lori, Tylee, and JJ stop at Burger King before bringing the boy to school. An hour later, Lori and Tylee return home.
How long have you lived here?
Like 3 weeks.
Oh, geez. Yeah, okay.
That's why the neighbors don't know us.
Gotcha.
Like, hi neighbor, sorry.
At the scene, Lori never asked police about the well-being of her husband.
Charles was a semi-pro baseball player. And if someone got hit with a bat from Charles Vallow, they would not be walking out to the curb, showing a little, boo-boo on the back of their head.
Charles's ex-wife, Cheryl Wheeler, was with him for 13 years and is the mother of his 2 sons. In the days following the fatal shooting, Lori's texts to both of his boys don't reveal much. In fact, they couldn't even get their stepmom on the phone.
The fact that Lori wasn't communicating with my boys, she never picked up the phone. All of it was done through texting, that there was something else going on.
When Charles was alive several months earlier, he called Gilbert police about his wife's behavior.
She said, "You're not Charles. I don't know who you are, what you did with Charles, but I can murder you now with my powers."
But who would believe him?
If she's as irrational as you say, I think maybe you should get your son out of the school and prevent that from happening.
She needs help.
Yeah.
She needs some serious help. I want her to get help. I'm worried about her.
In the following weeks, Charles filed for divorce, saying Lori claimed to be a translated being, an exalted goddess preparing for the second coming of Christ. Charles wanted sole custody of JJ.
I think that Charles, having it on record, having police reports, having body cam footage, helped a lot to see how desperate he was for help.
About a month after Charles died, Lori's other brother, Adam Cox, spoke to Chandler police.
I felt bad for Charles. And so I said, Charles, I'll do what I can to help, and Lori won't talk to me because she thinks I think she's crazy.
Lori spent much of her time praying at the Mormon temple, but Adam learned she had taken interest in a certain genre of books.
About maybe a year or two ago, Lori started reading some books and near-death experience books and started saying some weird things. She, talks to Jesus in the temple, and she's married to Moroni.
Text messages obtained from Chandler's case file reveal Charles was someone else, a dark spirit named Ned or Nick Schneider. Investigators say she shared these beliefs with Chad Daybell, a fictional author in Idaho who thought of himself as a visionary after having a near-death experience. Chad and Lori first met in 2018 at a conference for Doomsday Preppers. According to the police report, they believed they had been married in a past life and were meant to be together despite already being married to other people. 2 days after Charles was killed, police say Chad texted Lori this loving note. Detectives learned that Lori and Chad led a small group of like-minded people at the time, including a woman named Zulema Pastenes, someone Lori went to for spiritual guidance. Before Charles was killed, the two women referred to him as a new dark spirit named Hiplos. Police say for Lori and Chad to fulfill their religious prophecy, Charles needed to die. When he did, it was time to put a claim on a $1 million life insurance policy.
And what was the cause of his passing? Well, he was shot. Was it a homicide? No, it was an accident.
But the autopsy report ruled Charles's death a homicide. He was shot twice in the chest and stomach, and according to the medical examiner, the second bullet hit him while he was on his back.
They shot him. They killed him. And I don't know if it was for money or if they thought he was that evil spirit named Ned. And Lori can't deny any of that.
Months before Charles's death, he made a change to his life insurance policy, naming his sister Kay Woodcock as the beneficiary. With no payouts, Lori, her kids, and Uncle Alex said goodbye to Arizona. Coming up, another shooting linked to Lori Vallow leads investigators up north. The summer of 2019 was over. Lori Vallow put the death of her estranged husband behind her and fled Arizona with her 2 kids. But now another Valley police agency would learn her name.
911, where's your emergency?
Someone just shot my window.
On an October morning in the town of Gilbert, Brandon Boudreau calls 911.
As I was trying to pull in my driveway, they just drove off. I saw them drive off.
Police respond to this quiet suburb to find Brandon's Tesla with a shattered driver's side window hit by 1 bullet.
They was very professional, whatever they're doing.
You have any enemies? Anybody that you...
Just went through a divorce.
A divorce from the mother of his 4 kids, but also Lori Vallow's niece, Melanie.
There was like some kind of a muzzle thing on it.
Mm-hmm.
And they just lifted up the back gate and shot.
In 2021, Gilbert PD determined there was probable cause to believe Lori, her then boyfriend Chad Daybell, and her late brother Alex Cox orchestrated Brandon's murder, despite failing. Fox 10 obtained photos of the recovered suspect vehicle, a Jeep Wrangler with Texas plates registered to Charles Vallow. But at the time of the shooting, Charles was already dead. Detectives believe Lori, Chad, and Alex had the windows tinted, removed the back seat, and the back wheel, so Alex could shoot from the Jeep's rear. Brandon had just moved to this home, claiming his ex-wife Melanie was one of the few who knew his address.
Yesterday, we responded to a call for service because somebody tried to shoot Brandon. Do you have any idea about this? Or anybody who would have any desire to do something like this?
I don't know. I still say.
The day after the shooting, as Melanie was speaking with the detective, GPD believes this is Alex and Lori on security footage carrying a Jeep wheel and back seat out of a storage unit in Rexburg, Idaho. When Melanie was asked about Lori and her kids,
Do you know where they're living now?
No, they've kind of mentioned that they just need fresh start and unsure what's going on in the family.
Yet Melanie would soon move to Rexburg right next door to her aunt. Police would begin to link Lori and Chad's spiritual beliefs as a motive for murder. GPD's report says the couple felt Brandon was possessed by a dark soul, and the idea spread within their inner circle.
Not only is it dark, he's actually, we found out more about him. So first he's this, now we know he's actually a high level. He's like up there with Hitler.
In October 2018, Melanie Gibb met Lori Vallow at the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints in Gilbert. They became best friends, recording podcasts about their faith. It was Melanie who introduced Lori to Chad at a conference called Preparing a People. It took less than a year for Lori to follow the author who wrote about fictional apocalyptic events.
Only one shot, right? One shot.
The misfire led to the discovery of another suspicious death.
I'm calling reference a death investigation that I have now determined happened in your jurisdiction. The decedent's going to be a Tamara Daybell.
Coming up, 2 dead spouses, 2 missing kids, and how investigators tracked down the so-called Doomsday Mom. Law enforcement in Arizona and Idaho now needed the FBI to get involved, but time was ticking as authorities learned Lori Vallow's 2 kids had vanished, and she wasn't going to be truthful. We want to warn you, some details are graphic. A mother of 5, a librarian with a kind heart, and Chad Daybell's college sweetheart, Tammy Daybell, died in her sleep on October 19, 2019. She was believed to be healthy.
The family said they don't want an autopsy, therefore the coroner just signed off then and there. And then the funeral home took Miss Daybell. Is that how that works?
Yes, that's pretty much how it works.
Gilbert Police Detective Ryan Pillar called Fremont County Dispatch in Idaho to learn more.
We just have some cases down here that got our attention with Miss Daybell.
He wanted to know who tried to kill Brandon Boudreau earlier that month, and he knew about the alleged affair between Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow.
They were saying that Tammy was supposed to die on her trip to Utah.
Zulema Pastenes told detectives her good friends, Chad and Lori, believed in a grim vision.
And then when she didn't pass away, then they were saying was that she actually did pass away, but what happened was that she was taken over by an evil spirit, and then they were, that she had become a zombie.
Justifying death using religious beliefs was Chad and Lori's MO, according to investigators. Chad cashed in on Tammy's $400,000 life insurance policy and quickly married Lori less than 3 weeks later in Hawaii. But Lori's children, JJ Vallow and Tylee Ryan, were nowhere to be seen. Lori's text to JJ's nanny was simply not true. The boy's grandparents had not seen him for a while. 7-year-old JJ and 16-year-old Tylee had barely moved to Rexburg, Idaho from Arizona that fall. As for Big Sister, the last verified sighting of Tylee was with JJ, Lori, and her uncle Alex Cox at Yellowstone National Park on September 8th. And one of the last people to see JJ was Lori's best friend, who visited 2 weeks later. Melanie Gibb and her boyfriend planned to record a podcast with Lori on September 22nd.
She texts me and says
something to the effect of, I'll be there shortly.
I'll be there shortly.
JJ woke up and I'm trying to get him back to sleep.
And that was at night.
It was was about 8:30 at night.
Well, okay, because we didn't do the podcast yet. It must have been at Alex's house getting him to sleep over there, I'm guessing.
In an email from a Chandler detective to the FBI, Nate Duncan said he was looking through Lori's iCloud records. Quote, in regards to the children, it appears Lori has 2 photographs on her phone of significance. Pictures of rifle ammunition from a store in Idaho. Possibly the last photo of JJ taken on September 22nd, seen here. By late November, Lori's story on her son's whereabouts changed again when Rexburg police arrived for a welfare check.
He's with one of my friends in Arizona.
It just was kind of weird.
It is very weird. I've had to move around a lot.
She said JJ was with Melanie, which was not true. Lori and Chad then bolted out of Rexburg, nowhere to be found. Alex moved in with Zulema back in Gilbert after they got married. When authorities exhumed Tammy's body on December 11th, 2019, Zulema confronted Alex.
But if they exhume this body and are they gonna find anything? Did you have anything to do with this? And he said no.
Investigators believe Alex tried to shoot Tammy 10 days before she died, but failed. He told his wife he might be getting framed.
What is it? Tell me. What is it that they're trying to pin on you? What did they do?
Alex died of natural causes the next day, according to the medical examiner.
There's people around the country praying for your children, praying for you guys. Why don't you give us answers?
That's great.
Just weeks before the COVID-19 pandemic began, police arrested Lori in Kauai on charges of child abandonment, and she was brought back to Idaho. The search for JJ and Tylee continued until it ended in Chad's backyard on a summer day.
What
can I do for you?
I love you so much.
I love you.
As Lori spoke to Chad from jail, investigators discovered 2 sets of human remains, later identified as JJ and Tylee. Court documents reveal on September 9th and 23rd of 2019, Alex Cox's cell phone pinged at the spots where the children would be found. Police say Lori believed they had become zombies. What was left of Tylee's remains? Charred bones and tissue. JJ's body wrapped in tight plastic and duct tape.
His hands were folded about chest high. He had duct tape continuously wrapped from elbow all the way around his arms.
It took nearly a year for Chad and Lori to be indicted on murder charges in connection to the deaths of JJ, Tylee, and Tammy.
The thousands of hours that have been invested into seeking the truth for these innocent victims must be recognized.
And still, the wheels of justice turn slowly. Coming up, J.J. Vallow's grandparents have waited 3 years for this trial. Hear what they have to say. Kay and Larry Woodcock sounded the alarm to authorities when they couldn't get a hold of Lori Vallow and had not seen their autistic grandson JJ for months. After so much tragedy, their real fight for justice finally begins.
It's been a long, arduous process.
She is starting to get her dues.
We're on the eve of the trial now.
It has been 3 years since we witnessed Lori Vallow extradited from Hawaii to Idaho, initially on charges of child abandonment. Just tell me, how much patience have you learned from this long wait?
More than I've ever used in my entire life. It's been a long, arduous process. And we're on the eve of the trial now, and it's surreal.
What was your reaction to the judge deciding to separate Chad and Lori and have 2 separate trials? Was it the right choice?
You know, I think it makes no difference. I think the evidence is there. I've said that from the get-go, and I truly believe it's really not going to be that big of an issue. Personally, I would have liked to have seen both of them in court together.
Vallow's defense has filed a notice of alibi saying that when her children died in her brother's apartment, she was with 2 friends and with Chad Daybell in her own apartment. Looking at that, knowing that, are you surprised that she's basically implicating her brother Alex in the responsibility to all this?
Alex has been their patsy since when they were planning it. We knew when Charles was murdered that Alex was it and that Lori was using him. And so And so the rest of it went on down to when Brandon was shot at, and when someone tried to shoot Tammy 10 days before she died. That was Alex.
Through every hearing, we've seen Lori appear. You know, she has the hair and the makeup done, and she smiles from time to time. Does this feel like a slap in the face every time you see her express herself this way?
No. And I'm going to tell you the reason why I have to use right now. I got to sit 6 foot behind her in that courthouse, and I can tell you right now, those leg bracelets that she had on, and those handcuffs, that hair that looked like it was combed with a combine is where it's starting to wear on her. And as far as I'm concerned, she is starting to get her dues.
What is your final message to her as trial gets underway?
We have so much faith that she's going to be sentenced to the maximum.
They killed two most precious things in the world. Her flesh and blood, her daughter, was murdered in the most gruesome fashion that can be.
Heinous.
It's heinous. It's beyond heinous. And JJ, my God, the most innocent child there was out there.
That's all for us. The Lori Vallow trial begins tomorrow at 8 a.m. Arizona time. Stay with us for full coverage. And for all of our reports on the case, just scan the QR code on your screen, and we'll see you from the Ada County Courthouse in Idaho. I'm Justin Lum for Fox 10 Investigates. Good night.